The Declaration of Martial Law in 1972 by Ferdinand Marcos. What does the document artifact say? Ferdinand Marcos appeared on television at 7:15 p.m. on September 23, 1972, to announce that he had placed the entire Philippines under martial law by virtue of Proclamation No. 1081. He framed his announcement in legalistic terms that were untrue. This helped camouflage the true nature of his act to this day. It was nothing less than a self-coup. The second is that the arbitrary date emphasizes that the actual date for martial law was not the numerologically auspicious for Marcos 21st, but rather the moment that martial law was put into full effect, which was after the nationwide address of Ferdinand Marcos as far as the nation was concerned, September 23, 1972. By then, personalities considered threats to Marcos, Senators Benigno S. Aquino Jr., Jose Jocno, Francisco Rodrigo, and Ramon Mitral Jr., and members of the media such as Joaquin Roses, Teodoro Locsin Sr., Maximo Sullivan, and Amando Doronila had already been rounded up, starting with the arrest of Senator Aquino at midnight on September 22 and going into the early morning hours of September 23, when 100 of the 400 personalities targeted for arrest were already detained in Camp Crame by 4 a.m.
Marcos announced that he had placed the entire country under martial law as of 9 p.m. on September 22, 1972, via proclamation which he claimed he signed on September 21, 1972. Martial law would officially end on January 17, 1981, with Proclamation Number 2045. Marcos, however, would reserve decree-making powers from himself, even to the formal documents proclaiming Martial Law Proclamation Number 1081, which was dated September 21, 1972, was formally lifted on January 17, 1981. Marcos retained essentially all of his power as dictator until he was ousted.
According to the President's powers outlined in the 1935 Philippines Constitution, Marcos proclaimed the world-imposed martial law in the Philippines. This included the authority to instruct the Philippine Armed Forces to uphold law and order and exclusive authority to decide whether or not someone would be kept in custody for any offense.
Throughout the martial law period, Marcos built up the cult of September 21, proclaiming it as National Thanksgiving Day by virtue of Proclamation No. 1180, 1973, to memorialize the date as the foundation day of his new society. The propaganda effort was so successful that up to the present, many Filipinos, particularly those who did not live through the events of September 23, 1972, labor under the misapprehension that martial law was proclaimed on September 21, 1972. It was not.
The facts are clear. A week before the actual declaration of martial law, a number of people had already received information that Marcos had drawn up a plan to completely take over the government and gain absolute rule. Senator Benigno S. Aquino Jr., during a September 13, 1972 privilege speech, exposed what was known as a Plan Sagittarius.
The senator said he had received a top-secret military plan given by Marcos himself to place Metro Manila and outlying areas under the control of the Philippine Constabulary as a prelude to martial law. Marcos was going to use a series of bombing in Metro Manila, including the 1971 Plaza Miranda bombing, as a justification for his takeover and subsequent authoritarian rule. In his own diary, Marcos wrote on September 14, 1972, that he informed the military that he would proceed with proclaiming martial law. Even the U.S. Embassy in Manila knew as early as September 17, 1972 about Marcos' plan. This was indeed the culmination of a long period of preparation. As early as May 17, 1969, Marcos hinted the declaration of martial law when he addressed the Philippine Military Academy Alumni Association.
What was the provenance or source of document artifact?
On September 21, 1972, President Ferdinand E. Marcos issued Proclamation No. 1081, declaring martial law in the Philippines. That decree was dated September 21 despite other sources claiming that Marcos signed in September 17 or September 22. Marcos created the September 21 cult during the martial law era by designating it as National Thanksgiving Day following Proclamation number 1180. 1973 to marks the day as the New Society Foundation Day. The propaganda campaign was so successful that many Filipinos still believe martial law was declared on September 21, 1972, especially those who did not witness the event of September 23, 1972.
FM declares martial law. The headline of the September 24, 1972 issue of Sunday Express, which was the Sunday edition of the Philippines Daily Express. The Daily Express was the only newspaper allowed to circulate upon the declaration of martial law. Some sources say that Marcos signed the proclamation on September 17 on September 22, but in either case, the document itself was dated September 21. On the night September 23, 1972, Ferdinand Marcos spoke to the nation by television, by radio to make it known that he had declared martial law in the Philippines.
Who authored it?
On September 14, 1972, Marcos wrote his own notebook that told military he would move forward with declaring martial law on September 23, 2021. President Ferdinand E. Marcos signed Proclamation number 1081 on September 21, 1972, placing the Philippines under military law.
What was the context of the primary source's production?
In his entry for September 22, 1972, which was time-stamped 9:55 p.m., Marcos wrote around 8 p.m. tonight. Juan Ponce Enrile was ambushed in the vicinity of Pakwak. He was riding in his security car, which was a sensible precaution. His first car, the one he typically drives, was shot up by a car placed in ambush. He's currently in his D&D office. I told him to remain there. Additionally, I have increased Imelda's security at the Nayon Filipino, where she is hosting a banquet for the APUPI and other war services. This necessitates the declaration of martial law. Imelda arrived in my bulletproof electrical vehicle at 11:35 p.m. to learn that Johnny had been ambushed.
When he declared martial law in 1972, Marcos claimed that he had done so in response to the communist threat posed by the newly founded Communist Party of the Philippines (CPP) and the sectarian rebellion of the Mindanao Independence Movement (MIM). Major natural catastrophes may result in the declaration of martial law. However, most nations employ a different legal framework, such as a state of emergency, when there is no other civil administration and the people is unstable. Martial rule has often been applied during battles and in circumstances of occupation.
The propaganda efforts was so successful that up to present many peoples, particularly those who did not people through the event of September 23, 1972, labor under the misapprehension that national was proclaimed on September 21, 1972. It was not Proclamation number 1081 eloquently described a state lawlessness that had gripped the country and placed the Filipino people in peril.